very special person. She's a person living with a disability, and she's always with us. But I need them to just say their names, you hear their voices, because these are formidable people. This, what you see, members of the press, in front of you today, is the Kenya Women Mediators Group, the first Kenya Women Mediators Group, a very important team of prominent women who have come together. So the statement that I'm going to read this morning is a joint statement of ALUIN, that is Africa Women Leaders Network, Democracy Trust Fund, Tuvuke Initiative, and the women mediators of this Kenya. We, the women of Kenya, in our own individual capacities and collectively acting under the auspices of Africa Women Leaders Network, the Kenya chapter, we want to decry the recent incidences of violence and the auspices of the under the auspices of the African Women Leaders Network. It is time to note that all these incidences that you all know, and I want to go through them, the majority of the sufferers are children, elderly, both men and women, elderly persons, people with disabilities, especially women living with disabilities, and other vulnerable categories in the society. They suffer the brunt of all these incidences of violence. Politically driven violence is very serious in Kenya today. We note as the country gears towards the 9th elections, that is on August 9th, 2022, seeds of discord have continued to be planted, even as cause for political tolerance, and half-hearted apologies continue to be voiced. Misuse of the youth by these politicians, whether they are presidential aspirants or whoever it is, must stop. The women of Kenya are saying, stop putting our children at those levels of violence. We, as women of Kenya, we are concerned about the inflammatory utterances and threats from various quarters following the incidents of stoning of the presidential aspirants. While we condemn such occurrences, we urge different parties, including politicians and their supporters, to maintain sobriety and desist from calling and becoming warmongers. We demand that the responsible enforcement institutions investigate these incidences and all others and bring those responsible to book. We equally, as the women of this country and the mothers of this country, condemn insightful and hateful utterances that have been witnessed both in the country and from some Kenyans in the diaspora. We have witnessed very embarrassing, inflammatory hate attacks directed at the former First Lady, the first mother of this nation, Mama Ngina Kenyatta. Shameful. The utterances were distasteful, distressing, and as they were unfortunate. There have also been numerous other incidences of violence across the country, which is of great concern to the women of this country. The highest responsibility, and I want to repeat, the highest responsibility of all these violent situations lie basically with the presidential aspirants, And I want to repeat that very bravely. They bear the highest responsibility on behalf of those they lead. Yes. They are not leaders if you lead people to violence. Yes. And we women of Kenya, are disgusted. We have other forms of violence, not only politics. And the mothers of this country, mothering this country, know the others. One of them is banditry and cattle rustling. Nobody thinks that is violence, but that is violence. And the majority of those who suffer are women, children. Women with disabilities who can't even move or see, they are the ones who suffer. Yes. It is sad to note that since the intertribal clashes conflict in Marsabit relating to the two main tribes in the area at the end of last year, 40 lives have been lost. Property worth millions lost. Learning interrupted in schools as schools shut down. Children suffer. The conflict also affected Isiolo, Wajir border. There are others we know in Eldoret, Nakuru, Baringo. They are everywhere. People have died. People have been displaced. Properties have been destroyed. This is violence. I want to ask you today, the women of this country are asking you today, members of the press, to carry this question. Who instigates these incidences of violence? I dare say to you, it's the so-called people you call leaders. Those people lived for years, married among themselves. Then some people calling themselves leaders came up and began planting discord. Who really cares? The women of this country care. The women of this country are bleeding. We also note another kind of violence. We condemn in the strongest term possible the violence meted out against children in the form of sexual abuse, where we have even seen recently some people calling themselves leaders, taking young girls to hotels and abusing them. They're in courts, so we won't mention their names. They're also called leaders. Some of the perpetrators are even politicians. They have even been named. As well as recently, in the press, they have carried stories of very young children, including my own grandchild, murdered, abducted and murdered in the most dishonorable way, stabbings, including 2 days ago. That is meted out to our children, and you saw them on the screen singing. The women of this country, in particular, want to call out. They are extremely concerned about the height and lip of girls in different parts of the country since the onset of COVID, and it has been baptized COVID-related. We really think this is ridiculous, that the leaders in those areas condone violence. We have not had any of the presidential aspirants speaking out and calling out those violent situations. So they stand to be counted. And the people of this country should decide, do we want people who condone violence? In this respect, we want to call for action. In this respect, we call on all law enforcing agencies, and before I even call for law enforcing agencies, we are calling for safe spaces for women, women with disabilities, and girls. We have no safe spaces in this country, and we want them. We are demanding for them. We call on all law enforcing agencies, including the National Police Service and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and other security operators, to implement the law to the word without exceptions. We also urge all politicians to engage in peaceful campaigns. We are demanding, we are not even urging them, we are demanding peaceful campaigns in this country. And to deal, let them not come and say sorry to us once it has happened. Because they're the ones who are giving the money. They give the money, 200 shillings to a youth. That youth goes and drinks, comes home and causes mayhem. Peace begins with you. And today, that is the message of this press conference. Peace begins with me. As God-fearing country, we implore the religious institutions to continue playing an important role in entrenching norms and values. We urge the faith-based institutions to continue condemning. We have seen, we saw the provost of All Saints, Wanaina. He was one of the first ones to condemn this. And we ask the other institutions to do the same, including the mosques. The media continues to play a very important role in highlighting gender-based violence. We urge them to avoid reporting in a manner that glorifies violence. What I see and discuss in KTN, in Citizen every morning, is glorifying peace. I'm showing how important it is the people who have committed these crimes and getting off with it. We really ought to change that narrative. We respect the members of the press. They have been our friends. They have been the friends of women in fighting injustice in this country. But we really think that you should continue to do it in a gender-specific way. As members of the Fourth Estate, therefore, we urge you to be relentless in the efforts for reporting gender-based atrocities. The community is very important in really maintaining peace. We call on all communities to be watchdogs wherever they are and speak out about organizing of violence in their areas, and I help identify the perpetrators. Those are the ones we are telling the institutions that keep peace to make sure that they follow. And to conclude this statement, let me say that peace is, and I wish everybody in this country can say, peace starts with me and practices. Let's all say, peace starts with me.
Peace starts with me.
Thank you. Our part as mothers and leaders under Loen, we commit to play a role to nurture and protect peace and stability across the country. That is why these mediators are drawn from across the country, and also representing the youth and women with disabilities. We urge our women politicians to avoid being sucked into violence and instead join hands with all other mothers to maintain peace. Their language must show a difference. In addition, Alwen Kenya has put together this team who are experienced to be able to advise those who fall away on the way to act. They will be brave and they will be blessed by God. We have started as mediators collecting 1 million signatures across this country. Signatures for women and men who want to maintain peace in this country, around this country, and it begins. And we are going to be working together with our sister, Maendeleo ya Wanawake, on this, because Maendeleo ya Wanawake happens to be one of the largest institutions in this country. So don't ask me how we are going to get 1 million. And don't ask me what we are going to do with that million signatures. These minds here know what they are going to do with it, and we'll call you that time for you to see. Additionally, we shall reach out to other sisters of Aluin across Africa, led by our President, Johnson Sirleaf, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She's our president. To ensure that in this continent, women speak with a common voice about issues that affect women and peace for them and their families. I want to end this statement by saying this, making a very strong statement. There's a very special place in hell for anyone who causes through violence a life of a woman in particular, and a girl in particular, and a family member in particular. And that, I want to say thank you very much on behalf of the Women Mediators of Kenya, Aluin, and other partners. Thank you very much, and God bless you as we continue towards elections. And out of that statement, I want to wish all the women aspirants, not only the ones that Aluin trained, 135, but also the others. With me is one of them, our governor in waiting, and we wish them well. Well, this team will stand by all the women in this country.
Niko hapa kama mwenyekiti wa maendeleo ya wanawake. Ninawakilisha maendeleo kwa Aluin, the African Women Leadership Forum.